first 8 bars of a contrafight that I wrote using the chord progression from the standard Afternoon in Paris. Not to be confused, of course, with the other great standard, April in Paris. What I want to talk about in this video is how to arrange at the piano when you're reading from a lead sheet. I'm going to do this in 5 steps. The first step is simply to play the chords with the left hand in root position and play the melody in single notes in the right hand. That sounds like this. Okay, doesn't sound wrong, but we can improve that by what we call revoicing the chords, which is the second step. By the way, if you don't know any of these chords or you don't know how to find them, I've put a description in the link below to another video that I made about how to find any 7th chord on the piano. Okay, so voicing of a chord. This is the way we arrange the notes in a chord. And I like to use a pretty well step-by-step approach where I put, first of all, the melody note goes at the top. You can't play anything above that. So the first note in this is G, and it's a C major 7 chord. Now, you put the bass note down at the bottom. That is always, as long as the chord's in root position, that will be the root. So the root is the note that the chord is built on, and it's named after. So in this case, C. So you could put the bass note, say, there or down there. I'm going to keep it down there. The next stage, this is really, really important. Put the 3rd in. Keep it away from the bass. Keep it higher up. It sounds dreadful when it's played close to the bass down there. So I'm going to put the 5th there, the root there. The easiest way is to put the 3rd as close to the melody as possible. I'm going to put it there. Now, it doesn't always work that, because sometimes the melody note makes it awkward to put the 3rd there, but it works in this case. You could put it there actually, because that is still a significant distance from the bass note. But anyway, I'm going to opt for it close to the melody like that. So we've got the root there, then we've got the 3rd there, the 5th of the chord G is the melody note. So all we need to complete that chord is the note B. That's the 7th, the major 7th. Put it there. Don't put it there, because you would have a great big gap in the middle there. It's fine when you're voicing the notes on the piano to have notes fairly close together at the top and then a great big gap to the bass. But it is not okay to have great big gaps in the middle like that. So that's the basic voicing. Now, if you want to thicken the texture, you can double notes. You could double the root, have 2 C's for instance. You could double the 5th, have an extra G there. Doesn't really change the sound, it thickens the texture. If you're going to double notes, generally speaking, the notes that you would opt for are the root or the 5th. Don't have to be, you can double other notes, but they're the kind of first choice. And one other thing, on major, minor and dominant 7th chords, you can miss the 5th out. It doesn't change the sound of the chord. You can't miss the root or the 3rd or the 7th, that would change the sound. But the 5th doesn't really alter it. Okay, so that was the first chord. Of course, you don't have to play the chord on every melody note. Play it there, keep the pedal down. Now, going from C major 7 to C minor 7 in the second bar, you just change two notes, the third and the seventh, that's E and the B, both drop one semitone. So we're on to the F7, okay? Melody note, bass note, that's the root. Third of the chord, that could go there. It would be fine there. It would be terrible there. Keep it away from the bass. I'm going to offer it up there. And I'm going to add the seventh E flat there. Because if I put it there, we'd have a great big gap in the middle. So I'm going to place it in the right hand there. I can double the root there. You might be thinking there's no fifth there. Correct. Let's look at the options for the fifth. I could put it there. I can just do that. It's a bit of an uncomfortable stretch in my right hand, and it's not actually necessary, so I'm going to leave it out. One thing you can't do with that is put it there next to the melody like that. That doesn't sound good. So play it like that. B flat major 7, the third bar, melody, bass. There's only one place to put the third there. That's there. Definitely not there. So put it there. We need, so we got the root, third and fifth. Put the major 7th in there. Once again, we're changing from a major 7th to a minor 7th. The third and the 7th drop a semitone. E flat 7, melody, bass there or both. Third of the chord there. You can't put it there. If you're playing the bass down there, can't play it there anyway. You can't reach it with either hand. And if you played the bass there, it would be too close to the bass. So it's got to be there. We need the 7th in. D flat there. That's a good voicing. And once again, the 5th is a problem. You can't, if you're playing the bass down there, you can't reach that with your left hand. I suppose right hand could, if I stretch like mad, I can reach it, but I'm missing the 7th out then, so that's out of the question. Can't place it there because it's next to the melody. So we're going to leave it out. If you played the bass note there, you could put the 5th in. That sounds absolutely fine. Okay, so that's the idea. You put the melody at the top. You put the root note in the bass at the bottom. You fill the chord in between, but remember the third of the chord, keep it away from the bass. Okay, so the next thing is to look at the dominant 7th chords. Now, dominant 7th chords aren't quite as colourful as major, minor, half diminished and diminished 7th chords. You need to add at least one extra note, an upper extension or altered note. So you need to add either a 9th or 11th or a 13th. You can have a flat 9th. You can have a sharp 9th. You can have a flattened 5th, a flattened 13th. Let's look at the dominant 7th then. So the first one we come across is the D. So that's how we voiced it. Now, in actual fact, the D is the 13th of the chord. So we have an extra note there already, and that would do. There is another one we can put in the right hand though, which is the 9th, the G there. Now that voicing on its own is used ever such a lot, often called a Bill Evans voicing. The pianist Bill Evans used to play chords in that voicing a lot. Now, when you've got a long or relatively long melody note, in this case a half note, and you've got the ninth underneath it, you can create a bit of what we call inner movement in the chord by the ninth just moving onto the flat ninth like this. So that's nice inner movement, and it's used ever such a lot. Another thing you can do with dominant sevenths is use what are often called upper structure triads. If you've not come across this concept before, I've put a link in the description below to a video I made about them. They are triads, usually major triads, although there is a minor triad that works as well, played over dominant seventh chords. And they can produce some really colourful, wonderful sounds. In this case, I'm going to play a D major triad, D, F sharp, A. Triad's just a 3-note chord, played in first inversion like that, over an F7 chord. So I've got the root there, the 7th and the 3rd there. I could double that note there and play it there. That sounds really good. Why does that work? Well, D is the 13th, F sharp, think of it as G flat, and it's the flat 9th, A is the 3rd. But it's a really convenient way of just thinking D major triad over an F7. Now, another thing there is these upper structure triads, they work well over rootless voicings in the left hand, usually 3rd and 7th or 7th and 3rd. So let's try this. That's what I actually played in the introduction. I'm just playing the 7th and the 3rd of the F7. On beat 4, you could put the root in. So you could go. That sounds well too. I played the same upper structure triad over the E flat 7 I played. I played a C major triad over the dominant 7th chord, E flat 7. Now, at the end of the first line, I did something different. I played a suspended chord. If you don't know what suspensions are, I've done another video on that, and I've put a link in the description below. So very briefly, a suspension is a non-chord note which is played in place of a chord note. It's a step away from a chord note, and it usually resolves onto the chord note. It creates tension, and when it's resolved, we call that the resolution. The most commonly used suspension is a suspended fourth. That's 4 letter names away from the root. So G7, G, G, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4. The suspended fourth is the note C. It's played in place of the 3rd, the B, and it usually resolves onto it. Sometimes it's left hanging, it doesn't resolve, but in this case it resolves. So I'm going to play that. The E is the melody note, G down there, 7th there, and instead of the 3rd, I'm putting the suspended fourth. By the way, the suspended fourth is often referred to as the 11th. If you see G11, it means the same as G7 with a suspended fourth. Let's look what happens when the melody, the 13th, goes down a step to the 5th. The suspended fourth goes down to the 3rd. So you get the top 2 voices moving in thirds. That sounds good. It can sound better though if we include the 9th Now, I've changed the left hand slightly there. I'm playing an octave G instead of G and F, because I've got F in the right hand. And I just want you to look at the right hand on its own. F, A, C and E. That's actually an F major 7 chord played over G in the bass. And that's a convenient way of thinking about it. It's actually a G7 with a suspended 4th, a 9th and a 13th. But just thinking of it as F major 7 over G kind of makes it easy to think about it. Now look what happens now. The melody 13th E drops to the 5th D. The suspended 4th C drops to the 3rd B. And the 9th drops to the flat 9th. So all 3 notes are going down in steps. That is used ever such a lot. I did the same thing at the end. Just created one little bit of extra movement there by playing that syncopated rhythm by using my left hand thumb. 3 and 4. You can play it again on the and after 4 if you like. Sorry. Or just. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is creating some more inner movement. I'm going to look at the major 7th chords. And one thing that we often do with major 7th chords is alternate the major 7th with the 6th. So on a C major 7 chord, the major 7th is B. You can alternate it with the major 6th, which is A. You could do that in the first bar like this. Go play the B on beat 1 and on beat 3 play the A. Or you could alternate B with A on every beat. 1. Or you could go major 7th, 6th, 5th, 6th. In the second bar, C minor 7, I start off by doing a similar movement with the minor 7th, B flat, going down to the 6th on beat 2. And then it goes on to the F7. You can do that in lots of places. You can do it on the 3rd bar, on the B flat major 7. Sorry. The A flat major 7 bar. So that's a really useful device to use. Inner movement, it considerably makes the thing sound more professional. The last step that I'm going to use, this is step 5, and this is particularly useful when you're playing ballads, is to add some arpeggios. Now, just a caveat to add onto that, don't overdo the use of arpeggios. They can sound really effective. If you use them all the time, they kind of lose their impact. It's like you're throwing all the cards on the table in one go. There's a golden rule though, and it's the same rule as when you are doing the chord voicing. Keep that 3rd away from the bass. The worst thing you could do, say on a C major 7 arpeggio, is play. Just sounds like an exercise, that, and the 3rd down there is just dreadful. It sounds awful and muddy. What you usually do is either play the root, the 5th, the root again, and then cross over onto the 3rd, 5th, major 7th, or root 5th, straight up to the 3rd, but displaced an octave from there. So making it a 10th, and then 5th, major 7th. You can always go up and then come back down. Or you can do little patterns like go up, back down, back up. There's all kinds of patterns you can make up like that. In the intro, I actually used a combination of an arpeggio on the first bar with the movement of the major 7th to the 6th. So I did this. Arpeggio, and then I played the root and the major 7th there. Now, I was going to the A, the 6th, but I circled around it. I played the G, the 5th first. So I played arpeggios on the last 2 bars as well, so I can't remember exactly, something like that. Changed the melody then, didn't I? Okay, so there's a few ideas for you to use. I hope you found that useful. If you did and you haven't done so far, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and we will see you in the next video. Thank you.